Okay, welcome to this session of Luminate at Home. My name is James Winnett. I'm an artist based in Glasgow, and I'm going to be leading this session around the idea of making a mini museum. I'm going to be looking at textures and how we can gather textures that we're surrounded by and put them into miniature artworks. And then after that, we're going to be making sculptures, so miniature sculptures. So there's a couple of different elements to this. In terms of materials, all we need is a sheet of paper and a pencil. You might need a pen as well, so I've got a pen here that I'll use, but you don't have to do that, not necessarily. And then also I've got a ruler. Again, you don't need one of these really, but I might use it later on. So I'm going to get my sheet of paper. I should say that I've got a couple of different cameras here so you can see what I'm doing in more detail. The camera on this side is going to show you the detail, and then there's a camera on this side which shows what will be our gallery. And if I turn this on, you can see that on this side, I've got a sketchbook. So there's a sketchbook there that I've rested against the wall. If you've got something like that, fantastic, but you don't really need that. You can just use a table, and if you've got a flat wall against the table, then that would be ideal. You could also use a book or a box or something. It just gives us a surface that we can prop up a piece of paper onto. So this piece of paper will become one of our gallery walls. Or the only gallery wall really. And the idea is for us to make lots of miniature artworks on here. And then in the foreground, so I'm going to put this into our gallery space. And if I turn this camera on over here, you'll see how that looks. So that's our sheet of paper there. And in the foreground, we'll have different objects that will become like miniature sculptures. This isn't one of them, but just to show you this lamp here, once it's in that frame, it becomes a sculpture. Okay, got to run with me on this. I should say that I've not done this before, so this is new for me. So if this is a new idea for you as well, then we're all learning together. There's not necessarily a right and a wrong way of doing this. Actually, there probably is a wrong way, but there's no right ways necessarily. You can have a go. The important thing is to have a go, to have a bit of a laugh along the way. So hopefully we'll get that too. The first thing I'm going to demonstrate is with my sheet of paper, which, oh, there it is. My sheet of paper, I'm just going to put this here. And I'm going to start to draw out a number of frames onto this piece of paper. I'll use a pen so it shows up a bit clearer. Yeah, there we go. And I'm just going to draw these quite quickly. You can use a ruler, but I'm going to do them freehand. And I'm going to have different shapes and sizes. So in a gallery, you often get lots of different sizes of frames. And what I might do with these, just to make them look a little bit more like picture frames, is I'm just going to put a little string at the top of them, just like that. I'm going to do a big long one in here, so a nice tall one. And maybe we'll do a circular one. I hadn't thought of that, but a circular one might be quite nice. I'll do a big circular one up here. And maybe a few more down here. Now what I might actually do is make two of these pieces of paper. And then in that way, I'll have two different types of museum. So one of mine is going to be an art gallery, and the other one is going to be more of a museum. So it's museum and then an art gallery. And I can swap those two pieces of paper. If you want, you can make lots of different pieces of paper, different rooms to your gallery or your museum, or you could just do one. So it's open to you what you do with this. I'm going to put a really strange shape in there. So that's kind of a letterbox shape. So if I show you that, so that's the wall of our gallery. And if I place that into position, there we go. So that's our gallery wall in the background. What you could do, if you haven't got a sketchbook and you're just against the wall, you can fold this. Just fold a little area of the bottom of the page, like that. Okay, see that? And if we put that against the wall, it will stand up a bit easier. There we go. Fantastic. Okay, so the next thing is to fill these frames with our artworks, and this is where the textures come in. So I'm going to use a pencil first of all, and I'm going to go off around where I live, around my house, and try and find different objects and different surfaces to take rubbings from. I'll bring them back into my studio here and I'll show you how I'm taking those rubbings. So what you can do with the video, you can press pause at any time. You can always go back and check what I've said before. You might actually want to watch this through once, get some ideas for your own galleries and museums, and then come back to watch it again when you're doing it yourselves. So if you want to press pause, do that. And I'm going to head off around the house to try and find some different things. In the kitchen, I got the masher. So whenever you're making mashed potato, I thought that would give a good texture, so I picked that up on the way around, and then lots of different objects along the way that I found that I brought back in here. Okay, so now I'm back in my studio. Hopefully, if you paused it there, you've gone and collected your own things, and I'm now going to take my gallery wall and make some of these rubbings with the textures. I thought I'd start off with that lamp that I showed you earlier on. This has got a lovely texture to it. If I show you the top of this, you can see the detail there. So I thought that's kind of raised, so I thought that would make a nice rubbing. So I'm going to pick one of my pictures which fits this type of shape. Maybe this long thin one actually down the front. I'm going to make a rubbing from that. Okay, so I'm placing it over the top. This is where it gets a bit tricky. And then I want to rub, you can see that there, rub the pencil over the top. So I'm keeping the pencil at an angle, kind of flat to the surface. So that makes the pencil wider, the point of contact between the pencil and the paper wider, and so we get more detail there. What I might do with this one, so you can see I'm getting a pattern that's coming off of the lamp there. And what I'm going to do with this one, to fill my frame, I'm going to move it a couple of times. You wouldn't normally do this, but I'm going to move it so that I can get the whole of the frame filled with the rubbing that I'm taking. And because it's just a decorative pattern, it means that I can move it a couple of different times. Okay, so that's working quite well. So if I show you on this here, you can see the detail. I found a load of coins in the back of a drawer. So often you get these when you go on holiday, and you think, oh, if I go back there, I can use them again. But I've been to Poland, but I've not been back there for a long time. And some euros. Hopefully we'll be using those again in the future. So I thought these would make really good rubbings, and I'm going to put them underneath my piece of paper. I'm actually going to do a few in the same frame, so you should get a design that's made up of lots of different circles. And maybe I'll do it inside the circle actually. That would be good. Circles and circles. So I'll just pop that there, and I'll show you how this works. You can actually hold the pencil, instead of holding it like that, you can hold it like this, and that means you can get it even flatter. So I'm just going over the coin and it's starting to reveal itself. Coins are good because there's lots of detail in them, and also because they're metal, they really show through nice and clear when you make a rubbing. So anything you find around the house that's metallic, chances are that'll give a decent rubbing. Okay, so that's one of my coins done, and I'm just going to move my fingers over and make a rubbing of the next one. And then the third one is over here somewhere. Brilliant. Okay, I like that. So I've got 3 different coins there. So lots of good detail coming through on those. Okay, so that's the rubbing technique done. I'm just going to run through this now with a lot of different materials and objects, taking rubbings from them. I'm going to use that masher. There's my masher. Hopefully we don't need it for tonight's dinner. And I'm going to put that underneath the corner of this piece of paper and make a rubbing from that. Okay, so the same technique again. I'm just taking the pencil over the surface, staying within the frame of my picture to create the rubbing. It's nice and bold, this one. This one doesn't fill the whole frame, but actually I don't mind that. I quite like the idea that it's just coming to the edge there. Okay, so I found a couple of books earlier on, old books, and they've got a texture on the front by the way that they're embossed or the way they're printed. This is a book on Glasgow's George Square, and you can see that's the monument in the middle with Walter Scott on top. So I thought that might make a good rubbing, and I've got another book as well that I'm going to try. So that long shape that I had just there, I'm going to try and make a rubbing. Actually, it should fit really well down the middle. So again, I'll line it up. Okay, that's quite effective. It's almost like a print. Make sure it's focused on there. I've got another book cover here that I'm going to try and make a rubbing from. I'm interested in this bit at the top with these chimneys in the background, and it's slightly raised, so I'm going to give that a go. Okay, that's that one. Chimneys there. So it's starting to come together. I'll show you a few different of the objects I'm going to use. I'm going to try some dominoes. I thought these would be good. They're called deluxe dominoes. I don't think they're that deluxe, but we'll give them a go. So it's coming together. Okay, I've just been and raided the fridge, the surface of the fridge anyway, and got some good fridge magnets. So I'm going to try these because they've all got really good textures on them. If you're careful, you can use different colours at once. Maybe yellow. Okay, so that's my first part of my museum complete. I'm going to put that in the gallery, see how that looks. Let's fold it over. There we go. And then the second part is going to be making these sculptures for the foreground. So again, some of the objects that I collected on the way around, I can make use of them again. I've picked lots of different small ones though, so ornaments like this. I'm sure some of you have got your own Loch Ness Monster ornaments. I thought, could we kind of build sculptures with these? So if I place them into the gallery, they become like sculptures. And they can go different ways around. So this is a wooden toadstool I've got, but I actually quite like that on its side. Nice little green bottle I found, and fits quite nicely with a steel ball in the middle. So these are objects in our museum. And if you've got any lids, these are different types of bottle tops I collected, then they can be like plinths in the gallery. Just shipping a bottle. This is part of a chess set, I think, that my dad made. It's not an original one of the Lewis chessmen, but I thought it would make sense in our museum. So, little frog sculpture. Fit well on there, I think. If it's going to have, this could be a kind of museum, natural history. I've got a little fish tank here with our goldfish. What's good about this is that you start seeing the things that you're surrounded by every day in a new way. Even the fact that you pick them up and you move them to somewhere else makes you re-engage with them. What I really like about this idea is that everybody's museum and the artworks in the museums are individual, they're unique, and in lots of ways they reflect who we are, the places that we live, and the objects that we're surrounded by. I like the idea that if people come to visit that museum, and if you were a tour guide, say, sharing what the museum's all about, you would tell those stories, you'd go back through those memories, and you'd help others to see the things that you're surrounded by in a new light. So hopefully you have that reflection on it as well. We're done for that one. So that's our museum. That's a kind of like natural history, geography, history museum. So what we'll do is, if you've got a camera, you can take a picture of this, and I would encourage you to send in your pictures. Okay, so the next part of my mini museum is going to be more of an art gallery. And this is the area where I'm going to collect lots of different geometric patterns and textures and incorporate those into the pictures. So I found a few different things on my rummage around the house, a few records. So this is the centre of a vinyl, which I thought might be an interesting texture to try and take. So I'm going to put that under my piece of paper, maybe choose one of the smaller ones, maybe that square one over there. And maybe a nice bright colour like maybe an orange actually would be good for this, or a peachy colour. Press quite firmly and hopefully that texture will come through. Okay, so you can see how that's come out there. I'm not sure if this will work, but I'm going to give it a go. This is a hat. This is from my Crocodile Dundee days. I'm going to try and take a texture from that. So again, lay on top. This is going to be more colourful. I could do this in pencil, but I want these frames to be more colourful. Oh, it does work. There we go, it's quite good. Quite interesting, that one. And what else have we got? I found this in the back of a drawer. This is a lens for a camera. And it's got this lovely texture on the front, so I'm going to try that in one of my frames. Maybe the circular one here. And we'll go for a different colour again, maybe a nice bright red. Nice and strong. And then now I'm going to go and find a few things around the house. And at the front door, this circular area, which is next to the phone that I use to buzz people into the flat, and then a couple more textures that I found along the way. I found this radiator, which takes a good texture from it. Okay, so now we're back in the studio and I've got all my picture frames completed. I'm really pleased with the different textures, the different designs, all the different colours that I managed to incorporate. So you can see those here. Lots of different designs there. Some of them I've added more than one colour. Some of them have got different objects involved in the same frame, just to change the compositions up a little bit. I've repeated a couple of them as well, but it looks pretty good as far as I think. I'm sure yours will be a lot better. I'm going to put that into the gallery area at the back. There, that looks good. And then it's on to the sculptures. So again, I've got all sorts of objects that I collected from around the house. I'm just going to start to play with those really in the gallery. So the dominoes that I picked up earlier, I'm just going to see if I can create a little sculpture out of those. Maybe by twisting it actually, so we get a kind of corkscrew effect. Staircase or somewhat. Yeah, that's interesting. And then some of the objects that I used before, I'm just going to do different arrangements of those. So rather than them looking like a museum, they start looking a bit more like abstract sculpture, and you can have a bit of fun with this. These are just things I've come up with just now, so maybe something else on top of that one. There we go, it becomes a bit of a balancing game, but balancing sculptures, there's a good history of that. There's Nessie making an appearance again, but this time in a bit of a different format. I've got a thimble here. And then just kind of some random stuff. This is a light pole, which is actually made from a snooker cue. So it's been sanded down to get that effect. You can see just there. If you've got any DIY materials as well, some of those lend themselves pretty well to sculptures. These are some window pulls that I had. Brass. If you've got an actual photograph, you can incorporate that into the gallery. So this is a nice kind of landscape picture, and it's already got this nice cutout frame around it. So if you've got a bit of blue tack or sticky tape, you can incorporate that. I might have to lose one of my artworks though. Yeah, I'm going to keep it as it is. But yeah, test things out, try different arrangements. We need our gallery visitors to come and have a look. Come and check this out. And Diego as well. What do you think of that, Diego? I approve. That's good. Okay, there we have it. I'm going to take a picture of that and share it online with my pals. But hopefully you've enjoyed that, and tune in next time. Okay, thanks then. Bye bye.